What's up, everyone? Thralls of Metal back again with another album review. I am Shredlord.
Necrotic Nick.
And today we are bringing you an EP from the band Zombi.
Liquid Crystal. This comes out on the 14th of May on Relapse Records. This is not metal, but it's strange because mostly the only people I hear talk about this band are metalheads. So this is kind of a non-metal favorite of metalheads, and I've always thought these guys were interesting. These guys formed in, I think, the early 2000s or late 90s. It was kind of hard to find a date. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, this is kind of a nice little thing in here in terms of something interesting about the band because they based their name off of the Italian name of Dawn of the Dead, done by one George Romero, whom they are giant fanboys of. And they are also giant fans of Goblin, which we're listening to right now. And that really kind of works its way in here. Now these guys, again, have been around for a while. A prog duo, just a bassist, drummer, and keyboardist. So the bassist and keyboards kind of work in tandem. There's lots of looping, and it's always been a very interesting sound. They have 5 full lengths, 5 EPs, and this would be, I believe, their number 6 EP right here. And
The Mark of the Beast.
Yeah, so get 3 of them.
If there's 2 things I love in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it's the Steelers and George A. Romero, the king of horror.
And in terms of horror vibes, right away the opening track, Mangler, gives me all those sinister John Carpenter, David Cronenberg sort of feels. Like it really has like this interesting kind of slow build to it. And this is the song that does it right. We're gonna get to another song that kind of doesn't. But this one builds the tension. It does sort of like the post-metal, post-rock thing where it just sets a layer, then adds another layer on top of that, and it keeps getting more full sounding, and it remains sinister on this track. And I think this one stands out because it is kind of the darkest sounding track on here.
The Mangler vibe is definitely a vibe that I don't normally listen to as far as, you know, your slow build-ups and your droney styles. So while stuff that drones on for years and years, like Bell Witch and things like that, don't normally pique my interest, this band did a good job, especially with Mangler, on keeping the dynamics moving and knowing when to cut it off at the right time. And then as the album progressed, they showed that they, you know, had different layers to kind of offer you as well. Immediately after that track is one of my favorites, which is called simply Chant. It is a more chill, yet a march-style drum, but there's a light, distorted guitar that makes its way into the album, which is very nice. That melody helps move the song along and really helps it get from point A to point B.
The synths sound really different on this track, especially compared to Mangler, like night and day. The synths on this almost kind of sound like the synthesizer equivalent of like a string section, like cellos and violas. And again, this song just kind of takes that chill vibe, like, oh, we're not scared anymore, just calm down, it's okay. But when it comes down to, again, a vastly different approach, you get to the last track, Black Forest.
My favorite.
This one is easily the most energetic song on here. It's the most up-tempo, and my God, the 80s vibes on this song.
A lot of energy, a lot of life, a lot of things going on. It didn't take its time to build up. There's a lot of moving pieces right from the get-go, and that helped, I think, give it that more higher energy feel than the rest of the album seems to have.
It did take like a little bit of time to build up, but each layer was more interesting. Like they really ramped up the energy. So this was a good slow build, like where you're like, okay, I'm excited to hear what comes next.
And you even get a guitar solo. Ooh. In the title track itself, Liquid Crystal. That's another vibe that we didn't really talk about much yet, is it has a Pink Floyd vibe to it as well, which I am all about. And this solo is very reminiscent of a David Gilmour-esque Pink Floyd style solo, and it was really fucking cool and really refreshing to hear 3 songs in. You know, normally by the first couple tracks, if you don't hear some leads, more than likely you're not going to. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere in Liquid Crystal, it kicked in, and it was really pretty and melodic, and it worked. It made sense, and it was awesome.
Long, bendy notes. It definitely reminded me of Pink Floyd, but it was like Pink Floyd doing a song with Gary Newman or like Dire Straits or something like that. Like, I don't know, it all kind of wove together well, and I love the feel of the title track. It's just this kind of trancey jam, and you're just sort of hypnotized by the melodies, and when that lead comes in, that's almost like your vocal melody on there too. Like, yeah. It's just a big hook and an amazing song. But there was one point on this, well, turning points, there's multiple points. This song...
Long.
Very long. It feels longer than it actually is. This is an 11-minute song, and I swear it felt like it was 3 weeks long. This one labors the drone too much.
11 minutes long.
And
the song is long.
God.
The song is long.
And all right, the whole thing behind this song is it is essentially 5 chords, a droning, pulsating synth, and it's that for 11 minutes. Now, it takes about 3 minutes for the song to really kind of get going into the main drum beat, but the remaining 8 minutes is that drum beat, except for the last minute, which just is droning keys. This song, unfortunately, is dull. It is uneventful. It's not very interesting, and it really just kind of like sucked the wind out of the sails on this album. I mean, I was waiting for it to end. I wanted it to end.
Yeah, it was painstakingly just dull to hear after a while. If they would have been able to take that 11-minute song and break it down to about half size, I think it would have been very comparable to the intro track, Mangler. But this one just seemed to continue to carry on. You know, my dad was a DJ a long, different lifetime ago, and he always spoke about, like, you know, songs you put on so you can go take a shit, you know, your Freebirds, your Stairway to Heavens, you know, stuff like that. If you got to piss and you want to smoke, you know, that's what you put on, so you buy yourself some time. This just felt like this is the song during the set that I am going to piss, smoke, and jump in the beer line and still make it back before anything changes. And that was really the only thing that really took the sails out of my excitement for this album while listening to it, was this song. Other than that, I really enjoyed it.
The whole last part, I swear it sounded like he just kind of fell asleep on the same chord in the keyboards.
Wake the keyboard guy up.
No,
Wake him up.
I got like 1 more minute. I'm okay. Shh, I love you, mommy. What? But yeah, I don't know. I don't get this song, because you had the same dynamics in Mangler and it was a success. And not just because it was shorter. Honestly, if Mangler went on longer with that same creepy vibe, because they were still adding stuff to it, the layers were interesting. Turning Points was not really interesting at any point. Like, I was waiting for something to come in there to really kind of spice the song up, and outside of a couple of off-time fills, maybe,
that was about it.
That was about it. But overall, I dig this. I dig it. I dig it a lot.
Absolutely.
I mean, I loved their last album, 2020, which came out in 2020.
Imagine that.
Crazy, right? Loved it. This is not as good, but I still really dig it. And overall, I got to give it 3.5 stars. This was a fun listen. It takes me back, of course, to my love of all things 80s. And it works as like kind of a score of like multiple 80s movies. Like, you get your horror movies, you get your like just
action.
80s.
Definitely 80s action.
Sci-fi. And the musicianship is stellar. The production is amazing. It has so many great songs in here, but again, that Turning Point one just kind of, well, it wasn't quite the turning point. Luckily, Black Forest came on afterwards and saved it for me. But yeah, this is a good listen. If you love proggy synth stuff, if you love the new Genghis Tron, definitely check this out. It's really good.
If you love acid, if you love mushrooms, if you love psychedelics, if you love marijuana, this is an incredible album to go on a journeyman with. I really enjoyed this. I gotta say 3.5 as well. There were some things I did not expect that were eventually peppered in there, and my only complaint is one of the tracks being a little too long, and by a little too long, it was a lot of too long, but oh well, there are very far worse things to complain about. If any of that stuff that we talked about interests you, if this genre interests you at all, then this is a must listen to, because you will go on that journey, brother.
Don't get caught.
And have a hell of a time. So, this brings us to the end. Auf Wiedersehen, Elfin, and that's all the different language versions of the end I know. So, I digress. But please hit the like and subscribe button if you did enjoy this content, because we do cool videos like this literally all the time. Also, we are on Patreon as well. You can follow the link below in the video to go ahead and see what we got cool in the world of Patreon. And last but certainly not least, we are vastly and greatly approaching our 6,000 subscriber giveaway, because you guys are phenomenally fucking awesome. Thank you for everything. Thank you for spending time with us, and thank you for giving a shit enough about us during your day to watch our videos. We are incredibly appreciative that you do, because we're just a bunch of goofballs. So, on behalf of Necrotic and myself, I am Shredlord. We are signing off, and you stay metal, mother truckers.